So good morning and welcome to today's Flourishing Friday. And today we're going to be looking at enterprising ideas for social ventures, charities, co-ops and any other social enterprises. So we'll be focusing on the enterprise part of a social enterprise, which is the business end, literally, bringing the money, trying to move away from being completely grant reliant and becoming a sustainable business, being able to sustain not only your organisation, but yourself as well. So I'm going to introduce you to the panel. Actually, I'm going to allow the panel to introduce themselves. And if I could ask everyone to introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about your background or experience in this area.
No. Well, this is weird.
You look at them, you'll
Yeah.
be fine.
Okay. Hi. So I'm Caitlin. I am one of two people who run Plastic Shed. We're based in Stockport, and everything we do is based around taking in plastic that is unrecyclable. So things like your bottle lids, your vinyl banners, your stretchy plastic, they're all burned in this area. We actually take them in and we create creative and educational workshops for all ages. We go into schools, we go into businesses, we do a whole variation of things. We also do art installations. So my background is actually as an artist. I've got an art degree. And we go and do that with businesses and schools and everyone. And we also have a product line that we've just started. And that's, we've got an earring range and we've got sort of lots of little things as well. And then the more machinery and the more stuff we get coming in, the more we can do. And yeah, even though we're about maybe like 4 years old now, 3-4 years old, I still feel like we're just getting on our toes and just like really starting to get there now. So it is slow, but it works.
Thank you.
Sorry, did you say it was Plastic Shed, the name of the thing?
Plastic Shed, yeah. If you put that into Google, you'll never find us. But if you put Plastic Shed Stockport, you'll find us.
Oh, okay.
Orange logo.
And where are based, Caitlin? People might want to see you.
Oh yeah, so we're based in the heart of Stockport in a place called Mersey Workshop. So if you know Stockport well, it's like attached to Beaverbrook's Jewellery, but sort of around the corner. And you'll notice us because we've got a load of bottle lids in the window. You can't miss us. Yeah. I'll pass this horrendous thing on.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Wesley Downs, or they call me Wes, if you like. I'm happy with that. So my background is I worked for the best part of my career in pharmaceuticals. So I was a sales and marketing person within pharmaceuticals and territory management, international territory management. So that's my background. That's my commercial sort of background. So I did some training, sales training, and that sort of thing. The charity that I work with is called Renewal Northwest. It's been going 18 years now. It does over last year it does over 1 million, and most of that income is generated by trading type activity, charitable trading type activities, and I'll talk a little bit about that. It's a Christian charity, so faith is at the core of what we do. And in essence, what we're doing is we're providing work experience, skills development for long-term unemployed people and difficult long-term unemployed people. So we work with ex-offenders, linking up with chaplaincy service in prison, and we run a from the gate service. So we pick up guys from the gate in prison, we accommodate them for 12 months in supported accommodation, and we help them with absolutely everything. So we do a lot for a few. You can't do that to a lot of people, but we do a lot for a few. And over that 12-month period, we're helping them with life skills. We're helping them with employability skills. We're helping them with issues of addiction. Often is a feature of some of the guys that we're working with. There's a faith aspect to what we do as well. And in essence, providing them with the ability to start to live life fully. We also work with people who come from homelessness and from addiction. And as you can imagine, the journey from those places is not an easy journey. So how do we do that? Well, the charity we run is a number of little trading opportunities, if you like. So we do primary purpose trading, which I'll talk about that. So if the beneficiaries that you are helping are involved in the trading activity, you're allowed to trade on that basis. And so what do? We run a community appliance project where we're refurbishing washing machines, cookers, and all those sorts of things, dryers. And then we sell those items in our shop on Shore Heath, 6163 Shore Heath. I don't know whether anybody knows Shore Heath, but if you know Harry Bates as a trademark in the town, plumbing and bathroom space, yeah, we're indirectly opposite there. So we have a shop there, and that's where we sell the items. So community appliances, where we're refurbishing, as we've just taken on a new warehouse for that, round the corner from where we are. We run a project called Community Computers, and we're providing refurbished computers for Stockport Council, for Manchester Council, and we're just in discussions with Trafford Council as well. So this is people who can't afford to buy their own equipment, and they're referred to us if they're on benefits or coming from difficult situations, and then we're able to provide them with computers from £50. We also work with voluntary sector as well. So if anybody here is doing in the voluntary sector and you're looking for IT, we can serve those people as well. We have some really good tech people. We can support you with Office 365 and things like that as part of the package. So talk to us, because we are.
We had the chat, because we were saying about 3 or 4 people at least who are clamoring after needing new kit.
Yeah,
so.
we might be able to help
And
you
the
there.
rest.
Yeah, and again, we sell computers from the shop as well. We also do a furniture reuse project. We sell clothing, bric-a-brac. That is part of our charitable object, is to provide low-cost household items. So I take great pride in the fact that a mum can come into our shop and buy a pair of shoes, good quality shoes. It's not rubbish. Dignity is important. A pair of shoes for £1, and that means a lot to me personally. I'm told you can get a baby grow for 10p. You can't even get a shoe a sweet these days for 10p. So that is where my heart is, that the people in the community who can't afford to get new can come in and get all sorts of stuff low cost. So we're not one of those charities who are selling items at high prices to make income. We are selling items at lower prices to help people, but at the same time raising funds to provide employment to some of the people that we work with. We employ 25 people, and we have over 20 odd volunteers. So it's an organisation of quite a lot of people. Our recruitment tends to be along the lines of recruiting from people who volunteered with us. So guys who do a residential programme, girls who come and do a residential programme, and then move on to employment from there. So finish off with just talk about one guy who we helped, Robbie the robber, long-term drug dealer, drug user, a bank robber, to finance his lifestyle and all the rest of it. He came to faith as a Christian. He came to us, he went back to prison, on the run from prison when that happened. So he went back to prison, finished his sentence off, and then he connected with Renewal Northwest through people he knew. So he has been with us for 13 years. He's just recently moved on because he's caring for his disabled son. But the bank robber was the guy who used to bank the money for the charity. And that's what you call transformation. So we love to see those sorts of things happening in that. And that's what we're all about with. So sorry to go on and on.
Well, no,
but
it's
it's
really
not
not
really, yeah.
so it's good to hear the full tale. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gosh, where do I start with Motson? What do I know about this? So I think I've always been interested in enterprise and being enterprising. I think some of you who've been to events before, I've been working since I was about 9. I wouldn't call it slave labour. I used to work in my uncle's hairdressing shop. So I think from a understanding and learning about business from a young age was interesting, or by osmosis. I think that's a really helpful thing. And we probably don't do enough to encourage young people into enterprise, but it's an area that's really important. And what that helped me, so after my uncle was giving me my little brown pay slips for, as a youngster, I quickly realised it was slave labour, and I got my first job in retail at 15. And so some of these things of definitely working in a small family business, working in retail, have been really good aspects to enterprise, because if you've got a retail brain and you can do the sales piece as well as the operations and the logistics stuff, that's quite good and that's helpful. But I'm actually a designer by background. My degree's in products and furniture design for manufacture, so I'm lucky that I have a kind of operational sales and design sort of makeup, which is anyone can do, but it's unusual, and not everybody's got a passion for all of those things. So I'm quite lucky with that. And that's over the years, working in the voluntary community sector for 20 years, I mean, I worked in the private sector and, cut my teeth in all of that, but I quickly realised in my 20s, being a furniture designer wasn't for me. I got sick of lying in my boss's pockets to buy another Audi TT and another holiday home in Dubai, and leapt into the charity sector by accident and never really looked back. So when I leapt into the charity sector at that time, it was with a company called Unlimited, the Foundation for Social Entrepreneurs. They didn't exist back then. I'm one of the fools at the beginning that got the organisation together and operationally off the ground with the regional director and at the time. And I've spent my career really working with thousands of change makers and social entrepreneurs, which basically led me to setting up Flourish. After I'd left Unlimited, set up several social enterprises in health and wellbeing and social enterprise cafes and other stuff. I then decided to put all the good bits that I'd learned, I guess, from working with different VCSE organisations, both national charities, local and regional organisations, both funders and support agencies. I kind of nicked lots of different bits of that and lots of bits of enterprise and leadership programmes that I've either been on or been part of. And I tried to knit it all together really in this organisation that brings not just people like my expertise in, but really harnesses the expertise of everybody that we work with. So I think I've helped somewhere near about 3,000 people set up in business in the last 20 years, and I'm in contact with a lot of them. And I guess, what do I know about enterprise? I just know that I run Flourish Together, I run the pop-up spa and retreat, and I'm self-employed social business consultant. And for all the years I've been in business, I've been in surplus. So, that's my sort of indicator. That's not, there will be some years, I'm sure, where, I'm tearing my hair out more than I normally do, but touch wood, I must know something to run sustainable businesses and to help other people too. So we'll see what other questions come and we'll see what happens.
How do you follow this as a panel? So I'm Simone Callaghan. I have a social enterprise called the Goodness Collective, which is based in Stockport. And I know all of these people on the panel, which is wonderful. And I feel like actually you two, we just want to speak to you two all day. So Wesley and Caitlin do such amazing things locally. And one of the reasons, so Nickala and I were talking about Flourishing Friday, what could we do? And what themes are missing. And I get asked an awful lot from charities, which is why I asked you, Wes, to come along. Feels like that's like your street name, Wes. I always call you Wesley, but now I've got permission. Yeah. I get asked a lot for charities. There's seems to be a lot for social enterprises around, and it feels like there's a lot, but actually it's only been fairly recently that we've really started to focus on social enterprise support. But we do want to create things that are available and supportive to everybody. So we're getting asked a lot by charities, how do we be enterprising, and what does that look like, and how do we not get in trouble because we're a charity and we've got to work to our charitable aims? What does that mean? So I'm really glad we've got the recording today, because there's people that I'll be sending it you that I have this conversation with a lot about the enterprising side. And I know certainly the conversations I've had with a few of you in the room is, for me, the enterprising side is so important, because it isn't just about we should do it. It is actually for your peace of mind. The minute you get so focused on funding, you kind of give your personal power away, and it doesn't really become your thing anymore. It's you do running stuff for everybody else because it fits their grant criteria. And for me, the enterprising bit really gives you choice, and it gives you some control over actually what you want to run, because then you're running it because you want to, not because a funder said, well, that's what we'll fund. It's their priority, not yours. So I always kind of think, yes, we start with the social, but we should probably really start with the enterprise and do the social bit as a benefit and an add-on. That's where all of our passion is, I'm sure, everybody in this room. So the more enterprising we are, the more of that stuff we can do. So I'm not going to talk too much about me, because I get bored of listening to myself, but I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm project manager, project coordinator, and I'm supporting at the moment Sector 3 with managing and coordinating the Proper Good, which is the social enterprise support specifically for Stockport. But we are trying to do like some cross area working so that the whole of Greater Manchester benefits. So yeah, I'm here in that capacity, and I'm happy to talk to anybody. We have got lots of things coming up, so I'll plug all that at the end. And one of the things as well about Flourishing Fridays is what we're trying to do with proper good. So speak to us is, where are the gaps? What are we delivering? What's going well? What, you know, you can have chats with me, you can come to these sort of things, but if you're still finding things are a challenge and it's a struggle to get going, what are the things, so we can make sure for you and for the next lot of people coming through as potential social entrepreneurs, we've got that stuff in place. So thank you.
And you've actually preempted my next question very slightly.
And I didn't mean to.
No, not at all, but thank you for answering it in advance. I appreciate it. So as purpose-led organisations often start with the purpose, and the enterprise bit can sometimes come a bit later. So why is it important for social ventures to think about enterprise, and at what point should people start thinking about it?
Oh God, I thought we were just answering as a group.
Well, whoever would like to go first.
I can be inspired. It's like the basic answer is to pay your bills. Like, you got to start thinking about it from the beginning, to pay your bills. But I feel like a hypocrite saying that, because Plastic Shed, we still to this day sometimes do stuff for free because we want to, and we want to help small businesses or something. And a lot of what we did when we started off was on the cheap, and oh, how much can you afford? Right, yeah, that's fine, we'll do it. So I feel like such a hypocrite being like, think of the money, but you do need to think of money. But first, I think we just need to get our name out there. I'm sure I have something else to say, but I can't think of it right now.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess from the point of view of our charity, we're helping to give people work experience. So we want that to be real life work experience. We don't want it to be pretend, we want it to be real, so that when they leave us to go into employment, they're not going to get a shock. Now, there is always an element of transition from a caring environment, community environment, into the real hard world. But so we do try and make it as realistic as we possibly can. And to do that, we feel it's important that when we run the operation that we do, we're running it as a normal business would, in a very commercial way, considering the issues that matter. So that's one of the things, one of the drivers for us doing things commercially. The other thing I think for us is that we don't get mission drift. This is one of the problems of getting funding from different organisations, is, as it's already been mentioned, they effectively take over what you're doing, because they set the agenda and say, if you want our money, you've got to do this, this, and this, and this. And basically you're just doing it for them, and you lose your vision, you lose your mission. By us raising our own funds through primary purpose trading, that's enabled us to stay on mission. With the charitable objects we set out with, we've not changed them, they're still the same today. And I can genuinely say we're fulfilling those charitable objects because we're raising our own funds through primary purpose trading. So yeah, I'd encourage anyone to pursue that route.
Yeah, I'd echo some of that. Basically, if you can be enterprising, you're not as beholden to whoever it is, you know, through some of these different funders and so forth. I think it's also important to get enterprising as soon as possible, to test yourself. It's not easy running an organisation and sustaining an organisation. It isn't for everybody. So the sooner you start thinking, can I sustain this thing? Do I understand where the business model or some sort of income generation model of some kind might be in this project or thing? The sooner you can work out if it's for you, or actually your skills and your passion is best being an entrepreneur in an organisation, because it isn't for the faint-hearted running some of these organisations. That's not to say that I do think anybody and everybody couldn't run their own organisation, but I think the sooner you work out where your strengths in that enterprise lie, whether you're the ideas person, you like to come up with a plan and you know, test things out, and you know, or you're trying to address community need, or you know, you're quite a logistics and detail person, or you're a money person, you're happy managing the finances, you know, whatever your strengths are, the sooner you work out what those are, you can then fill your sort of enterprise knowledge gaps by building some sort of team, or building some sort of board, or buying in associates or volunteers or whoever with those skill sets. So that's, for me, is it's very easy to just run another project and hope for the best. But if you can start to think about the bigger picture, and looking you know, where enterprise might fit in. And sometimes it's really hard because you're either working in a community that hasn't got the money to pay for what you want anyway, or what you're trying to do. So there's some careful ways to think about that. Or you might be just hate asking for the money. You know, there's reasons why people don't push forward with this stuff. It's not always, you know, chasing funding. It's you know, people's confidence, people who they know, or they're just not spotted where the business model is yet. And it doesn't turn up on a plate for you. It does take 2, 3, 5 years sometimes to work out where the business model is. And it's, you know, have you got that amount of patience, and have you got some level of resources and support to give you that test and space to make it work. So
yeah, I feel like Plastic Shed's still in that 2 to 5 year range.
People don't,
still
it
sort of
does take a
figuring
lot
out.
longer than you think.
Yeah. And also I think there's a lot of freedom in, you don't have to stick with that model. Like we started out as one thing, and actually we never really thought about products or that stuff, and actually, or our installations, and because we've had commissions come in afterwards for that, we've gone, oh my god, that sounds amazing, we can do that, and then we've expanded. So actually I love the fact that we can keep adapting all of this to it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so
Do you have anything to add, Simone?
yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
You're
I'm
contemplating.
just thinking the things that I wanted to add were kind of bringing 2 of your points together, really, which was what Caitlin was saying about the flexibility and the freedom to kind of, my favourite phrase, test and learn.
Yeah.
You know, that's really important. But I think as well what Wes was saying about the mission drift stuff, if you kind of get really clear, and this is a piece of work for all the startups, on what are we, particularly if there's more than one of you, because you need your communication and you need to agree before you get going exactly what it is we're doing. If you kind of agree what that initial mission is, what are your values, you know, the whole mission, vision, values, aims piece of work, if you can kind of figure that out, it really helps with the decision making. So even if it is a fund, if that fund comes along and then it's like, does it fit with what we're trying to do here? No, well, it's a no, rather than trying to figure out later. And then also in terms of your enterprise streams, is this taking us where we think at the moment we want to go? And as Caitlin says, stuff changes massively. I'm 4 years in, and am I doing exactly what I set out to do? No, I'm doing some of it. But, you know, if you are open-minded and you are open to enterprising opportunities, you will start to say yes to a few things.
You do end up going where the money is, whether it's enterprise money or whether it's fund money, and it's just looking at which.
And I think you will change that mission, vision, values and aim stuff. But if you've got like a bit of a something to steer your ship for 12 months, where it's actually we can keep checking in with this, it helps you. And also if you're working as part of a team, it really supports you to check in with each other. Well, you've said yes to that, but actually we agreed we were going to do this, so what do we think about that? It helps you to kind of bring that conversation back round.
The way we actually did that was when at the very beginning we made core values. So we, as a team, we worked on what are our like 5 core values for our business, and every time something came in, does it fit? And usually, because people come into us, it will always be recycle based and plastic based, and we're like, what really fits with what we want to do. But you will get the odd thing and we'd be like, that does not fit with us at all, like that's completely against the point, and so you would decline it. Or sometimes, you know, like if you can afford to, sometimes, you know, like you said, you've got to go with the money sometimes. But I found that was really helpful, core values, and then you as a team know where you're going, and also like someone from another member of your team might bring in a core value that you haven't thought of, or that you might completely disagree with, and you need to discuss that, and then everyone knows where you're standing then from the get-go.
Yeah, and I suppose then it's the evaluating after, isn't it? It's once you've done that thing that you weren't sure about, not just keeping on the treadmill because you're on it. Actually, is this working for us? Is it bringing what we thought it would? Is it still fitting? So just constantly kind of reviewing and
it's all right to, you know, the thing about enterprise and testing yourself early is it's that fail fast sort of stuff, where if things aren't working, you can change direction, think about a slightly different business goal, business model, or enterprise model, which, you know, the landscape shifts all the time. Where you think the income's going to come from could really change
massively.
I think the other thing to bear in mind in that is that if because these things tend to take your life over, it needs to be something that you enjoy doing. It's a passion of yours. Don't go away from that passion. Stick with it, because that's what will give you the motivation to keep going when it gets tough. Because it does get tough. It's not easy to run these things. But if you're doing what's in your heart to do, you'll stick with it. So don't let yourself get drawn to something you're just not interested in. What's the point of doing that? Just stick with where you're at, and then they'll give you the resilience to keep going when it does get tough, and it does at times get tough. And I think my staff look at me, they think they've got an easy job because, you know, I'm just sitting in an office, or I'm going to meetings, or I'm doing this and this and this. But as the CEO of the organisation, who's accountable to the board, you're carrying all the financial responsibility to ensure that you pay your bills. We rent quite a number of buildings now and employ quite a number of staff, and that's quite a lot to carry. So make sure you're resilient enough to be able to live with that, particularly when it's not going as you want it to. And if you are, and if you're up for it, it's absolutely amazing. You know, go for it, enjoy it. And
I definitely agree with that. The passion thing, like, and it will take over your life. Like I spent a lot of it, because I run Plastic Shed, but I also have my own garden design, because that's how I started, and then I got involved, and we both were built up sort of at the same time. And you do end up almost working a day job and then coming back and doing all your emails and your planning and that all in your own time. You almost end up doing 2 jobs, but because I love it, I almost, like, I'm going to bed and I'm like, oh, I just need to do that, oh, like that, and then you get a bit absorbed by it. But
that's an area where
probably not that
sometimes
healthy.
The mainstream business support that's out there, you know, may or may not understand this whole passion-based stuff. What we find is, whether it's social enterprise or whether it's women in general, from research that we've done, you can get a little bit patronised or patted on the head, or told you're running a lifestyle business or whatever
Or a hobby.
or a hobby.
Oh, is that your hobby?
And
No.
I think, you know, what Wes is saying here is absolutely right, and it just made me think that, you know, there are sometimes you do need specialist sort of social enterprise support rather than the mainstream support, just to grasp that the big vision that you've got. This isn't just a passion project, you're trying to change the world here. So just an observation.
Bear with me, I just need to change something on the screen. Just need to keep an eye on the power of this machine. I'm afraid it's a little bit short, but yeah. So yeah, it'd just be interesting to hear any examples that you've got of enterprising ideas that have worked particularly well. So it might be for your own organisation, or it might be other people you've come across. And what's it about those ideas that made them work well?
I think for me, because there was obviously the question later on about what failed, and I thought 1,000 things for what went wrong. But I think ours was like, there's a group called Precious Plastic, and that's who inspired Rachel, who's our founder, to start it, as well as Men in Sheds. And Precious Plastic, they base it all around community, open source. Everyone gives out information. You connect with all these other people who are interested in what you want to do. And there's a map. There's, you know, I'm now in a group chat with people in the UK who do different things. Like, some people build the machines, some people do schools, some people do various different things, but we all have the same core thing. And I think, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, I think the fact it's community based and open to expanding, but also open to learning and giving out information freely, that I found was really nice. I don't think that's answered the question, but like, that I found really passionate, and like, I love that they did that, and it really inspired Plastic Shed to go forward in a very open, community based way, and that was really helpful for our business.
I suppose for me, I'm one of these weird sort of people that likes to take old things and make them work again, or take things that other people have disregarded and bring use out of them. And that's an important value for me. And it relates to people. So people who other people would write off, you know, lock them up and throw the key away. That's the mentality often that you encounter. But that purpose.
Build more prisons.
Build more prisons. Absolutely.
Instead of working on a rehabilitation.
But there's someone who's got value. They've got a lot to offer, and they just needed a chance in life. A lot of these guys just had a lousy start, and give them a chance, and you'd be amazed at how creative they are and how enterprising they are as well. So that's very much in my heart to do that. And I think the whole thing with Renewal is, the idea is renewal of lives, renewal of items, reusing fits into that. And I think what's actually happening at the moment, and this might be some sort of a hint for some of you in terms of what you're looking to do, I call it, or we call it as an organisation, the reuse revolution. And what's actually happening within the marketplace now is what potentially was regarded as just a lot of rubbish and a lot of junk, throw it away, is actually gaining in value. And there are a growing number of people who want secondhand, who want to reuse, choosing that above new. so that some of the major retailers now are starting used brands. Okay. And so we're finding that within our organisation that people want to buy secondhand because of the environmental aspect of that. You know, you calculate the amount of carbon you can save if you reuse a laptop. We do that, and we tell the companies to donate their equipment to us how much carbon they've saved by reusing that. You look at washing machines and cookers, and you look at clothing or furniture, and it's a no-brainer, isn't it? You know. And anyway, some of the old stuff's a lot better than the new anyway.
Yeah,
But again, from an
built
enterprise,
to last.
you're receiving those goods in
Yeah.
quite low cost, if not free.
Yes.
And then you're repurposing them and selling them on. So it's
Exactly.
it's a win-win.
Repurposing them while giving the work
Supporting others.
experience.
To people. So it's a win-win-win in essence.
Yeah,
it's
A
like
win for the
isn't
environment.
it? Yeah.
Win for the environment, win for unemployment, people who have been out of work, and win for people getting low-cost items and that. So yeah.
And a win for you being able to sell goods that people need that
Yeah.
saves you having to go cap and hand to the lottery or wherever.
Absolutely.
Put on a-
Yeah, absolutely.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I might come at it from a slightly different angle, sort of thinking about the question. All sorts of enterprising ideas. I think really, if we take Flourish right back to before it was even Flourish, the Women Supporting Social Entrepreneurs Network, as we were, and this is often where places and people start, is like, well, how do I start this thing? How is it going to make me any money? And often you have to give an amount of time to test this thing. So me and co-founder Joe at the time, we knew we could commit a day a week or a few days a month. That was our investment into testing this thing. And in terms of, you know, what's been a success, we've now got this program called the Time to Grow program, which was run multiple times, but we wouldn't have designed that Time to Grow program and found repeat commissions and repeat funds and repeat ways of running it had we not worked for free for a year or so. I mean, we had bits of funding, but basically we ran a free, and we still do, it's core to what we do, a free monthly peer learning program. And so every different session we listened to what people needed, and the next month, you know, it was about what motivates you, or, you know, what, how do you develop your legal structure? How do you develop a business plan? How do you put your budgets together? How do you market what you do? You know, if you looked at it month on month, it looked like a high quality but free enterprise support program, sort of dragged out. And ultimately over time, and it took us a while to realize this, you know, it became a product, became a product that we've now run sort of 4 times, and we're just about to run a 5th one, aren't we? So that's an example where it took some time to build that and to help us to see how are we going to package this together and who's going to buy it. But over time, we've figured that out. And so what I would say is sometimes you need to think about where are the resources going to come from to test this enterprise idea that we've got. So initially it's how much of my time can I commit to this, and if whatever I can and can't commit, you know, as my investment, where am I going to find that resource? And some of you will know in the room, and we can chat again about this, but organisations like Unlimited, like the Schools for Social Entrepreneurs, like the lottery, have cash available to invest in individuals or newly and emerging social ventures of varying structures, to give you the bandwidth and the resource to test this stuff. Sometimes they're just covering the incidentals and you have to give your time. Sometimes they'll pay for people's time. So there are resources out there to help you test things, to not have to pay for it all, or to take some of the risk out of it. So, you know, that was just a kind of journey really of testing something over time and turning it into our product, and us realizing who those customers of that product were going to be. For example, you know, NatWest, Manchester City Council, and then some of the others have been funded through certain, I guess, enterprise education programs and things like that. But we know we've got a sellable product there now that, again, as Simone was saying, you've got to be very careful you don't go off piece, because although we've got this program, if certain funders or certain commissioners want it running a certain way, it can take us off track, or it can take more of our time than we would like on things like admin and meetings and faff. So I just sort of give an example of something that's worked, and I might come back to I wouldn't say what's worked less well, but I've got some wacky props for things that have actually worked well. But from a fundraising point of view, there's always, my philosophy is, where can I get some enterprise out of this at any given opportunity? So we'll share a little bit about that, so on the next sort of side of it.
From a personal perspective, I suppose with Goodness Collective, like we really looked at what we had as a skill set within the team and what, starting with what we've got really. It's like and that's maybe something to think about early. Are you business to customer or are you business to business? I knew that it was going to be organisation. So a bit like Nickala, and I'm a bit of a dot connector, and that isn't really a job title, but actually it's a skill that you kind of underestimate. You know, a lot of people and you can see ways to put things together. So it's like, how do you sell being a dot connector? Well, it's basically
that sounds like the job title. You're like chief sandwich maker,
chief dot connector. So I kind of looked at, you know, who do I know, what am I good at? And one of the things was actually I'm really good at seeing how different organisations can come together across public sector, private sector and voluntary community sector. So it was kind of me going with a proposal to councils, to housing associations, to sector 3, saying, look, I got this idea, you're trying to do this, I think it might work well like this. Here's an example of what it would look like. Here's the price to deliver it in. Always go with 3 proposals, because your skeleton model that you don't really want them to go for. Your middle one you hope they do, and you're all bells and whistles. So it's like, actually, these are the 3 ways I could solve this problem for you. Here's my proposal. And you know, yes, there is a lot of meetings and a lot of conversations, but eventually somebody will give you a try, and that my work's just kind of led from that. Again, proving concept that yes, I can do this, yes, I can deliver this, and then going to the next person saying this is an option. So that's my personal journey, but for you as well, kind of start with what you've already got. It doesn't always have to be a product or a specific service to a customer. It could be actually you've got something to offer other organisations. If you're good at peer support, and you know, where else could you take that? Is that a consultancy package that you could sell out? So what are you already doing for free that you could essentially create a proposal to charge for? Would be,
I think that's a really good point about you don't necessarily have to come up with the idea for a finished product and start selling it. And in fact, you probably definitely shouldn't be spending your time creating something perfect and polished and finished before you start to sell it. You should start testing things to market out.
And Shelley will know, working for Flourish, we're permanently winging it, but it seemed to work.
Good, I can see you've got something.
No, I just want to add to it. I think everything that's been said there, just from a financial perspective. I spent years working for the likes of Morrison's and the rest of it, and I always just talk about those examples of really trying to be commercial and trying to find money. But the key drivers that you have for enterprise continually will always come down to value and audience. If you could add value to a product like Wes and guys are doing, number one, you don't have to have that product. If you look on eBay and Facebook Marketplace, there's an absolute array of people who will pay for things that you would have just chucked out and thought nobody wanted. So there's always a value. So it's determining the value that you can add to what you're doing, or the value of that to somebody else. It's also about determining the correct audience that you're selling to. Because if you've got something which somebody doesn't understand, the value gets taken down. But if you're in the right environment, you can enhance that. You know, somebody who doesn't appreciate art wouldn't actually know the difference between a Banksy and you know, a Monet, for example. But if you're in the right audience, you can absolutely escalate that and get people bidding on it. Yeah. It's that kind of a thing. So they're the 2 key drivers. And the other key thing that I've seen historically, like with everything that these guys have just been detailing, is that enterprise is like finance. When you're in this arena and you're doing what you're doing, starting either from scratch or midway through, one, you don't want the dependencies from mission drift, because you start becoming dependent. And the second thing is in the peaks and troughs that you get financially, when you start doing cash flows and your budgets on the piece, you start seeing those, and shocks you might have, such as COVID. Enterprise is, again, that we talk about budgets being your best friend, but the enterprise thing is what you need as a constant line, because it's there when you're in survival and offers you freedom when you're doing really well. Because it offers you the freedom to be away from dependency. When you are dependent, it means that you're surviving. So you need it at both ends of the spectrum. It's a constant line throughout. So don't think it's something you can do partially. It's always there for you.
There is a point about time here as well, though, that's not being factored in. It might come in a minute about what's, you know, the next questions around, you know, what's not worked so well and things like that. And sometimes people underestimate their time. So they think something's working really well. They're getting all these people turning up, or, you know, they're flogging a load of mugs, like you're going to see in a minute. But, you know, if you can waste a hell of a lot of time monkeying around at enterprise where you should never even go there. So we might come on to some of that in a moment.
And it might be that we look at that in more detail this afternoon. At so yeah, we're gonna ask the panel now for some examples of things that have worked less well, and any insights into why things haven't worked out quite so well. Because as we've said already, fail and move on, but it's about testing and learning. So things that might be classed as a failure, but
so many. I think, and it's so many and you actually can't think of them. I think we, financial wise, so our founder stepped down and me and my colleague have been slowly taking over everything. And in that time, we didn't actually calculate for a bill that we didn't know was coming. Suddenly got a huge bill that wiped the bank, absolutely wiped us out. And then we owed money and we have been scraping back and we've just about got back on off. That was a huge mistake on our part that we learned from. We won't do it again.
And that can come from an invoice, or somebody I spoke to this week, that can come from mismanagement of a contract, where you go and think, brilliant, someone's going to pay to do all this work, but actually they're going to give you 10% front and they're going to make you cash flow the whole damn thing. So just that's something else to scupper your whole grand enterprise plans.
Especially as also like time. I continuously under budget my time. I do this to this day. I'm a lot better at it. But I was saying to you before, like, I priced something up being like, I think I've over budgeted this, if anything. Like, I've given myself so much time. And then as soon as it was agreed and they paid, they said, oh, can you actually do this, this, and this as well? And I was like, and it's in sort of I couldn't budget it again because it is sort of in the agreement, but it wasn't something that was originally agreed. And now it's just like probably an extra day, which isn't too bad, but when it adds up to every single thing is another day that you're not really being paid for. That's something I'm just still learning. I feel like I'm learning just today from all this stuff. I'm like, I should do that.
But it's that people pleasing element. You want to please your
I'm too kind.
But you also want to please your community. They've got all this need and real tension in there between overstretching yourself. So many angles where you stretch yourself and really got to.
I burnt myself out a few times putting too much into it. I would also say, when you were saying people pleasing, when we first started accepting plastic, we were not strict on it at all. We were just like, bottle lids. We ended up with so many donations, which is amazing because we're community based. All our donations, all our plastic comes from the community, which we so appreciate. But we didn't specify it, and then we didn't really think time wise. We actually have to go clean these things, sort these things, go through these things, get rid of these things, shred these things. And actually we had to shut up shop for about a year of donations because we physically so much. We had to throw a third of them away because they were moldy, because we hadn't specified they were clean. We had to throw maybe another chunk away because they were just random bits of plastic, because we used to just say, I could probably do something with that, I'll take it. And then you think, oh, blooming heck.
It's polypropylene.
I don't know what it is or if I can actually melt it. But that was a big learning curve for us, and we've just this week accepted donations again and then I feel mean saying to people who bring it in, no, sorry, that's dirty, we can't accept them, take it back. And then I'm like, and it is definitely a people pleasing problem, but that was a huge problem for us that we have overcome now. And it is, I think you've got to embrace the failures, because we failed so many times, and actually you don't make the same mistake again. And if everything went really smoothly, we actually probably wouldn't learn a load of things that we realized we needed to learn. So just embrace the failures. There's a lot more, but I won't bring them.
I think probably for our organisation, we've grown rapidly in the last 4 years. And the difference between the last 4 years and the previous years, we're going 18 years, is our location and access to market. So if you're looking to sell product into a market, check that there is a market there, do some market research, absolutely critical. Is there a demand in the market for this product? Are there competitors? If there are competitors in the marketplace, there's an indication that there is a market there. And then make sure your product has an advantage over and above other products as well, that you've got a USP that's going to set you apart from the competition. But so going back to the original point, that for all those years, we just bumbled along really without making much progress. So what was the difference between the last 4 years and the previous years? And it was location. So we had our furniture shop in an old mill, Meadow Mill, if anybody knows where that is, near Tesco's. And the phrase that people used to say to us is, oh, we didn't know you were here. We should have renamed the organisation that. We didn't know you were here. Once we moved into a shop at a very busy junction in Stockport, very visible to lots and lots of people, that's when things change radically. So if you've got a product you want to sell, an enterprise, that get access to markets in big ways. So if you're going for a shop, find a shop that's in a busy place where there's lots of footfall. Or, and I would suggest this is probably a really good way to deal with products these days, if there is a market for it, is eBay, because eBay's easy access for you to get your product in front of potentially millions of people for relatively low cost. So we have an eBay operation. We have a warehouse in South Reddish, and that's all eBay. We just list and list and list. I think we have about 800 items on there at the moment. And we're accessing a very large market that way. So I suppose that's the learning for us, was put yourself in a place where you're very visible, easy access for customers. And if you can't get a shop, that's not the route you're going. Look at eBay, research your product on eBay. There's great potential there. And we have people who do eBay. So, we might even think about running a course. We have a girl who does really good on eBay. So, it might be something we look at.
I would actually just say with that, your target audience. So we've actually, you've reminded me, we found a huge influx in our audience and in sales, especially in our earrings, from TikTok. I'm not a TikTok person, I don't know my audience, but I started showcasing, I was like, I'm just gonna start it off, see what happens. And I started showcasing just making our sheets. Something that I didn't think that's interesting, because I do all the time. Day-to-day.
Did that at Wigan Workshop. The minute you start showing them what you're doing, and look what's coming and how we do it.
Fascinated. And actually, we immediately just got, I think, 2 million views on one of our first videos. I haven't really posted since. Nothing. What's it called? Consistency. Things I need to learn myself. In my defense, I've got ADHD, so once it hit, I was like, brilliant, next thing. But yeah, TikTok for like that younger generation, especially people care about. The whole reason Pastor Jed started was to bring our community together around something that everyone cared about, no matter age, background, anything. But I think, TikTok for like younger generation, it's TikTok.
Definitely. And
start to showcase some
pick your stuff, or put yourself out your comfort zone, or find people that know this stuff.
I'd never thought of eBay.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate and think, oh my God. I mean, I remember going down the route making these funny little candles and putting them on Etsy. It was more to see the process. Barely sold a thing. Do you know what I mean? So I think, think about what it is what you want to invest your time in, and think. I'm not even looking at
and Etsy take a bigger chunk than they. They look like they take.
I was going to say, quite often social enterprises are service based, and if you think how many candles or how many mugs, I'll show you, it's going to take to get your day rate. Let's say your day rate's 250, 300, 500 pound a day for your specialist expertise. Even the massage therapies that we do, I love doing our pop-up spas. It's fantastic, but I have to think about things in context and think, what are we doing this for? Can we afford to do it? And if we continue to do it, why are we doing it? And where there's something you want to do, want to test, want to try, quite often it either has to be a loss leader, or it's a promotional tool, or it's something you have to think about carefully. So is this the best use of my time, our organisation's time? Is it going to bring the best return for us? And what we're going to get from it? So
and especially around whether it's your core skill set as an organisation, so obviously there's alignment with your mission, but for retail setups, embracing eBay is a no-brainer, and it's a skill and it's a craft, and it's not something you can necessarily just do for 10 minutes here and there and become an expert.
It's a job in itself, but
it's
going to quickly sort of learn how to put things on Etsy.
We've done all sorts of bits, and I would just say, watch yourself carefully when you're going through. These were all actually worth doing, to be fair. But I'm like this. I want to see not single parents coming through the door when we put our time in it. And so I mentioned this because none of us have mentioned crowdfunding yet, but crowdfunding is actually a really interesting enterprise and market research tool. We'll talk about crowdfunding later, but these were our mugs that we had as one of our rewards. And again, we'll be very careful about what you put down as reward. So, if you imagine, these are probably about £8, £6 to £8 to get a mug manufactured and logoed up. That's not unusual, unless you can find someone to give you the free mugs, and then selling them for about £15 as a reward. Then you've got postage on top, so you have to think really carefully. And then we ended up with God knows how many mugs left over, and
actually we didn't do too bad. I've only got like maybe like 15 of these things left, and now they're like
That's
gold.
because all our friends bought them.
No, exactly. They put money in the crowd fund, you know, and we've run 4 successful crowd funds, and I think we only flogged them up at like 1 of those. So it's like, what do people want? What are they going to need to bother putting their money in the pot? And so for the crowd fund, this was one element. There were several other things. Likewise, we just ran a multicultural event. We knew we were going to have Christmas trees, and we were just monkeying around. I wanted to support one of our. So again, another reason we'll sometimes buy merch and do stuff. Philosophy here as well is that you want to support other people. So we've been able to pay one of our women in our network who does all these decals and does her own cards and those things. We've made all sorts of like baubles, and people love them. We've had a chunk of people bought them. Not very many. We were just testing it out. But I know. Yeah. So well, we'll have them ready for next Christmas. Now we've kind of got our act together. But God, me and my son spent some time sticking these decals on. Do you know what I mean? So you have to think, who's going to do this thing? And I bring these in jest, but I know now these are best as a little lost leader type thing. They've worked well as like marketing tools and things like that. And you have to think, what are we going to sell these for? How do we keep them as cost effective as possible? And it's just one last daft one, because quite often we're out in communities and like people won't pay for what it is you're doing, but you want them to value something. We just recently, we've been promoting the fact that we're running our Heaton Chapel, we're opening our Heaton Chapel station pub. And I just thought, we're here. Thankfully, we had some like people's postcode lottery money to pay for our time to be there, promoting the fact that we're opening. It was all part of research, but sometimes to get people to talk to you, you need to have some gimmick or something there. So Shelley were there outside in Heaton pub in Heaton. It was flipping freezing, so you do have to. This is again enterprise. We ever run a market stall, and this wasn't what we let's do market. We can get you a pitch, no problems. But we've got this sort of gimmicky stand with this. It looks a bit like the front of a train. It's like a mini bar, and I'm showing you this just for a laugh, but it works. You don't have to do things that are too fancy. My dad used to work at Marks and Spencer's. And I had an advent calendar. It sounds ridiculous, but we're all up for doing weird fundraising things. And so you can put whatever price tag you like on it. Gertie's laughing and said, "Okay, we did say we'd laugh this Friday, but with a recycled, I'm following the theme, recycled advent calendar, I had all the, various people sort of donated and handed in all sorts of bits and gifts to get the people to talk to us. We were stood next to the, again, know your audience. We were stood next to the Santa's grotto, like they're paying a £5 for the kids to go and get, their little treats with Santa. So we did something for the mums, and really we should have charged more, but it's like, we just want them to talk to us. We don't want them to think that we're on the back. So I would just say, think about where you are and what you're doing, and is there something that you can kind of rustle up that will create a conversation? And this, we got rid of everything, and we ended up having to create another one for a different event. So daft. Not a lot of money, didn't take a lot of time, but it's like what will be useful, probably raise 50 quid to cover travel costs for the day, or to pay for tea and coffee for an event, or whatever it might be. So it depends on what kind of enterprise you're running and who your audience is, but there's always a way to be enterprise.
And I think as well on that note, it's really, and I see so many people not doing it, whether it is a product or whether it is your service, is tell people the story. Why are you doing it? Because actually, why are you? You're not just a typical business. So when you sell that money, then you're off to Barbados on your cruise ship with the profit. What are you doing with those profits? Where are you going? What's the difference that you're making? Because we expect people just to know us and just to get that, but they don't. So if you're on social media and things like that, really keep going back to that. What's our core values? Why do we do what we do? That passion stuff we started talking about at the beginning. Tell people, because we've got the proper good cups, kind of go. We gave a lot away, but we started to sell them in our community soups. And yes, people probably don't need the cup. We've got loads of them, but if they buy the cup, they get to put into our seed funding pot, which then supports other social entrepreneurs. So it's telling the story. Which is why I bought mine to support her community. So it's really important that you get that messaging out there about it's not just about the product or service, it's about what you're helping us to do with the profits that we make.
I mean, in our shops, we have a group of people, of customers who come and buy from us regularly. We have customers who come in every single day, believe it or not. And it's become a community for them. It's part of their days, part of their practice and all the rest of it. But they're in there buying from us because they've heard the stories, they've heard Robbie's story, they've heard the stories of other guys who we've helped, and they want to be part of that. And they want to feel the contributions to that and making a difference. And that's one of the things I've loved to see over the years is the relationships that have been built up between our customers and the guys that we're helping. And as time's gone on, those guys have been able to share more and more of their stories about where they've come from, what's happened in their lives. And you've got this bond that links up the two people. So the people who come in to use our shop feel really good, that they're buying from us and they're helping the organisation. And then the guys who we're helping, they're feeling really good because all of a sudden society is taking an interest in them, is willing to accept them. And it's a great meeting place, that shop environment where these two groups are coming together. So yeah, these are the key things, important things.
I know I'm awful. I was like, what do you do? I'm like, I hate giving the spiel. But you've got to, 100%. If people don't know it,
and that's
what people are keen.
Sorry for about this forever, but the thing is as well about make it easy for them. So there'll be people who maybe don't want the tap that me and Nickala reduce, but they might actually really want to support you. So are you creating an opportunity for them to do that? There's also a big thing about empowering people, not feeling like you have to do everything for free. I know I've not gone sometimes to free things because I think, well, that should be for somebody else because I can afford to pay to give to that, and there's not an opportunity, so maybe it's not for me. And I might want to fill that room, but because I've put it out there for free, I'm closing off my audience. So give people the opportunity, whether it's pay as you feel or pay it forward or whatever the things are. Don't feel that every single thing you put on has to be no charge. And you also take that personal power away from the people attending.
Absolutely. I always find a good way of pay as you feel if you put a recommended amount. Because most people will do that, but obviously if people can't follow, they won't, and that's absolutely fine. And some people do more, but if you put a recommended amount, people tend to keep to that. Because if you just put pay as you feel, a lot of people get quid and you're like, oh, I meant a little bit more, but okay.
I'm just going to take this opportunity to save the recording here because we have power issues. I think we'll have an opportunity to get the transcript for the rest of the session. We've got about 15 minutes left. So if you're watching this video on catch up, you can check the description and there's likely going to be a link to the rest of the session. But thank you for joining.